to enter the party. Please make sure you bring your ID tag and remind all your friends to do so as well.
Right, we have...
Are we ready for the last final of the day then? Come here, are we ready for the last final of the day? The Master Mixed Division, please put your hands together in the red shirt, Spain. And their opponents competing
Welcome back to the action in the Algarve with this mixed master final. The Germans in red, right, the Germans in white even, and the Spanish in red. My name is Hannah Pendlebury, at the helm with me for this final gold match here in Portimao, Benji Reeves. Benji, these teams have faced each other already during this course of this tournament. How did they fare?
Cast your mind back to an overcast Tuesday morning, 8:30 local time. The Germans came out 12-9 victors. They had a hot start, went 3-0 out in front, although Spain caught a couple of breaks back along the way. Germany led all the way and were never really in too much trouble. We'll see if that plays out again here once more.
So Germany currently on the disc. After my stumble initially, you can say they're in white. And you see immediately a zone look from Spain. Wind quite high right now. Haidorn near side. She's going to chuck it deep to Christian Kervel, who's going to lose his hands as his knees tumble to the floor. And turnover early stages of this game. Opportunity for Spain.
Good spirit, immediately telling his teammates and his opposition, letting him know that he dropped the disc.
And so now Spain looking a little bit static, some spinning hand movement from the number one. Surveys the field. Great coverage from the Germans. Happy to swing it as Spain. Lots of contact there, but well kept. Gonna need to reset it or find something up line, and there we are. First point on the board. The Spains now lead 1-0.
Strong start here from the Spanish, exactly the opposite to their previous meeting, as we mentioned. And both of these sides already played today, had their semi-finals at 8:30 in the morning. Spain, in a bit of an upset in many people's eyes, knocked off France 13-12 again. They went right the way down to the wire, trading pretty much throughout the game. Just a couple of breaks here and there, the difference in that one. And the Germans had a tough time of it. Well, they nearly got upset by Great Britain. They were trailing in the latter portion of the game. They were 11-10 down and then put in their offense and broke on Universe Point to win 12-11 and seal this final berth. And they're going to have to dig themselves out from a little hole here as Spain break on that first point.
Wow, you say a hole. The German master mix side here, really known for being able to make very smart adjustments in the latter stages of the game, as you say, just like they did against Great Britain, close it out for the win. So a big shot will go out to Gerstenberg, and that is a comfortable score for the Germans.
Nice job there. That blading backhand into the end zone is much more difficult than it looks in this prevailing wind, because it's very easy for the wind to just see the full face of that disc and push it away towards that far sideline. But really, really well read by the receiver, the number 25 shirt of Fabian Gerstenberg.
Yes, one of the pandas of this German side, chatting to one of the players, Sven Hoffman, earlier. Sven 10, as we dubbed him in a previous match. He was saying that the reason why we'll see some panda names for the German side on our player surveys is because they attended Paganello, one of the big tournaments in Rimini over in Italy, and it was Kung Fu Panda themed, and on the way to the party, they were all dressed in face paint, but a deep pull, rolls, opportunity now, and there is a capitalization. Great awareness from the two German defenders, and that's number 23 with the bid, Masha Seevold.
Yeah, Seevold, recent European champion on the sand, was part of that Seagull side that won that thrilling women's final at EBUC back in October.
And her twin sister, I believe, appearing in the Luxembourgish team here. But that will be in the senior division. So Germany, opportunity to get that break back, and they do! A layout score, far side of the pitch from Sarah Heidel.
A laser shot down the far sideline from Andreas Gottschalk for the German break.
Oh no, of course, it's the 16 shirt, that's Verena Plain. There's nothing plain about that layout bid to keep the disc alive, and a score for the Germans.
It's difficult when there's a team this solid all the way through, as the Germans are, to pick out particular players, but Verena Plain only has the 1 assist to her name, but she had 15 goals coming into this game, so she's definitely one of their main end zone targets.
Indeed, known as Ginger Panda. I was explaining just as that point began, those nicknames coming out of the Paganiello tournament.
And you mentioned this, her ultimate all-sporting hero is Kung Fu Panda, and he's a man who knows how to make do with what is your finished body. It's not necessarily quite in the shape that it once was.
An important thing to do with the Masters division. Very few people choosing to peak in the later ages as these players advance down the pitch, but that's great work here from Spain. Keeps the disc alive, just Naida Roldan. Saw lots of handiwork from her in the deep space, and there the disc goes up. Carl McPheron flying through the sky, but put the thumbs up saying that was probably about right, just couldn't connect.
That would have been a fantastic play had he been able to bring that in. It would look spectacular nonetheless. A large contingent of the Spanish team play for the club side. Coracota, which is based out of Cantabria. Carl McPherron, you saw make that bid there. He's the team manager and the Spirit captain. Good portion of this team are actually PE teachers, so anyone who's a teacher or is friends with teachers knows how difficult it is to get some time off work at this point of the crunch end of the academic year.
Well, we'll see, hopefully, a lesson in efficient offense from the Germans. As we see the brains behind it all, Brigitte Iman. Oh, Hoffman landing out of bounds, immediately puts the disc on the floor. Great spirit there from the German side. But just to talk about Brigitte Iman, was told, look for her, not necessarily when she's just on the pitch, but giving advice to her teammates on the sideline. Such a smart, intelligent player. And so, Rondal, disc into their hands. And then at this point, Benji, it seems to be cursed. Everyone's coming up with just plain errors.
Yeah, a couple of careless plays from both sides. That drop from Spain, and aware lack of field awareness from a player. The ability of Hoffman just didn't have that ability to know where he was on the field and toe that in bounds. Just got a bit too casual with it.
Oh, heavy pressure from the hands of Bolado. And it's just sit in the wind there. Well received by Iman. Really sort of stoic offense from the Germans right now. Happy to just swing it, swing it, swing it, find a shot upfield. That's what we've seen from them all tournament long. Just happy to make lots of passes, but there is a miscue, a missed connection. The number 83 and Paul Badnik unable to keep the disc low enough for Sven Hoffman to snaffle. And
partly, as well as keeping it low, she didn't keep it very flat as she released it. She had that front edge pointed up, and it allowed the wind to just get underneath it and push it over the hands of Hoffman. But it's going to go straight back on a ambitious shot from the Spanish. With the wind being what it is, I'd like to see them holster that one, Hannah. Yeah, Gutierrez there with the errant throw, sailing immediately towards us in our commentary perch here as the sun descends behind us. We've had beautiful weather this afternoon here in Portimao. Lots of wind for sure, but also lots of sun. Fans in the stands having to apply plenty of sunscreen as the Germans now. Again, we see them happy to swing. Strub finds Iman. Has a lot of separation deep for Hoffman, but really conservative, small ball ultimate. Oh, and separation bound! And sneaking into the end zone, and Paul Badnik, after her error, picks up a stacked first score of this game for her. A beautiful put there from the number 91 shirt of GER. And he's called the Angry Panda. He's a player with lots of experience under his belt. Played notable successful beach teams and grass teams as well. The teams out of Mainz, Arena, Feldrenner, played for Randale as well. He's got experience with some Spanish teams, played for Mubidisc out of Lanzarote. Apparently the highlight of his ultimate playing career was the party at CFC 2018. So I'd love to know what went down at the party. And something interesting as well, Fabian Gerstenberg, who we saw scoring earlier for this German side, he lists his ultimate hero as GER, just noting that he's a particularly highly spirited player, and that's something that's really good to see, both in terms of being a highly spirited player and that his teammates recognise that that's the case and they give the necessary respect that's deserved for keeping that high spirit available at all times.
Well, we've seen absolutely fabulous spirited play here on the arena field all day long. Those banners, the Eric early recognition is critical banners, reminding all of the players on the field about those key elements. And so now the Spanish look to attack downfield. That's a nice little shot into the middle. Good movement. Again, there's two 16 shirts marking each other. We've got Verena playing from the Germans and Raquel Garcia having a good go of it, but she goes upfield now. Really good, smooth offense from the Spanish side. An inside shot's going to have to be taken. Goes to the knees, does Gutierrez, pops it up, but that's a bit of a risky biscuit. Heavy coverage from the defender on the back, and Haidon gets the block.
Yeah, step for step in coverage, and was able to bid and get that hand in front and knock it away from the Spanish receiver.
And so the Germans with an opportunity to take their third break in a row. Haidon near sideline. Perhaps, is that a glove or some strapping on her wrist? I can't quite tell.
Looks like it's been strapped up to me.
Oh, and that's an absolute dime of a ball. What a connection. The number 3, Sylvester Plisbla, to his teammate, the number 23, Marshall Sevold.
And it's interesting seeing him being the assist maker there, because we've talked about Plain being a goal scorer, and he's the same. He's got 12 goals to his name, but he has also got 8 assists, so it's certainly not unusual that he's comfortable behind the disc as well as in front of it.
Indeed, and both of these teams coming off of those very close semi-final matchups.
And after a break on the first point from the Spanish, this has now begun to take the structure of that first game, with the Germans building an early lead, and we'll see if they're able to defend it this time around.
Well, plenty of Spanish fans in the stands. I was enjoying the Grandmaster men's match, sat in the midst of that crowd. They are very loud and very proud of their teammates here on this field.
Lovely to see making the trip southwest of the Iberian Peninsula.
Oh, and there's a wonderful play of the court D, but a miscommunication. We've been talking so much this week, Benji, about catching your Ds and how important it is on beach. Vivian Stettner there doing a fabulous job, but unable to connect with her teammate to convert.
It's rare seeing a player of Stettner's experience make a mistake like that. Originally out of Sydney, Australia, played for the Australian team at the 2017 World Games, the highest possible level at the sport, and now doing an excellent job representing the German mixed side, although a simple error there. Germans get it back though.
Indeed they do. Hot pressure from Felix Glud. And we'll see a stack into the end zone for the Germans. Perhaps an up-line play here. And that seems to be their first look, and there we go, crunchy end zone play. Not effective this time round.
Just trying to squeeze in that front cone, jamming in the jam hole, if you will, but never really the window there. Should have just reset, maybe found a way to try and get the disc onto this break side where there's no defenders lurking.
And defenders, they do lurk, as we see Barreiro looking for options, but seem to be fairly stifled. Finds a reset in Roldan. Back to Barriero. Ortega. One score to his name so far in this master mixed final. McPherson just looking pretty chilly there with his backwards cap. Doesn't look under too much pressure. A pick call downfield.
Yeah, a couple of players crossing over, so everyone's going to catch up, regain positions. Checked back in by Hoffman.
And so back, it just goes. Germans doing a fantastic job of really pushing the Spanish hand set back towards their own end zone. Smothering coverage. Oh, a little bit of a reach around from Fabian Gerstenberg there, trying to get the block. Can't stop McPherson. Oh, that's a lovely around break from Barriero. Spanish seem to have found a little bit more flow. That's a big disc going up far side, and it pops out of the reaching hands. How disappointing for Carl McPherson.
It was a tough catch to make, but a player of his quality would probably have backed himself to bring that one in.
And the Spanish so desperately need to hold this offensive point, currently trailing 2 breaks down to the Germans as we see a timeout call there from Fabian Gerstenberg.
This doesn't surprise me. This point's beginning to grind on, and on the beach, especially these long points, a killer because it's so difficult to run on the sand. It takes so much more work, and you get that lactic acid build up in the legs, and just taking a chance to take a timeout, have a breather, stretch off a little bit, and as well as that, just try and sort out your offense, work out how you're going to deal with this prevailing wind, really pushing the disc out of that far sideline.
Yeah, and so lovely shots of the scene here at Praia da Rocha. Beautiful white fluffy sand, and the teams. Funny actually, Benji, I got the colours the wrong way around when I initially opened this game. The Germans are in white and the Spanish are in red. This team actually, the Germans, not able to play in any other colour than white here in the division, because basically the parcel service who was supposed to be bringing them their new kit was lost. So basically Proton, their shirt supplier, sent a new print of all of their kit to Faro Airport to get picked up by one of their team. And so the Germans here have no other option than to play in the same single white jerseys and black pairs of shorts that you see them in currently. They've had every game in those kits.
Now, I've suffered a similar thing before. Our kit was delayed on the way to a Paganello, another major beach tournament that we talked about earlier, and in the end it arrived 5 minutes after our designated teammate left. So we also wore white shirts, but we just picked up plain white t-shirts and wrote on them in marker pen, somewhat less classy than this sleek German look. Well,
thank you very much to Proton, their kit supplier, for pulling it out of the bag, so we've got some good shirts to play with, and great names on the back for us commentators here in the booth as we see a big disc go up. Going to be tracked. Can she read it? Oh my goodness. What a little chase that was of the German player against the wind. Hoffman in the end zone, but my goodness, that point was all about Anne-Paul Bagnick's read.
Yeah, really made her work for that one. The disc, again, showing that front side of the wind a little bit upwards, and it motored towards the end zone, and the wind pushed it back down the field. So Paul Bagnick did a really good job of reading that and adjusting it, come towards it and attacking. And I think the Spanish may be a little bit guilty of watching that hang in the air for an age, because after she caught it and looked around, there were far more German players streaming down the field than there were Spaniards. And maybe that's just that point going on. Their Spanish legs tired, didn't quite have the same gas in them that the Germans did.
And then once again we see that. And this is what you get from the veteran divisions. Plays like that, just able to read the disc in such a swirl of a windy pitch there. Fabulous play. So the Germans extend their lead unanswered now for a full 5-point score, currently 5-1.
Yeah, the Germans really grabbed this game by the scruff of the neck and they're full throttle at the moment. Interesting thing about this Spanish side, there was a Spanish mixed master team at the last major national beach event, the World Championships Beach Ultimate in Royan, France, a couple of years ago. But this is an entirely different Spanish mixed masters team. There are no returning players, and their team's goals were just to do the best they can on wine. That hasn't necessarily come off so far in this game. Getting to the final for a team that didn't necessarily have medal hopes is a phenomenal achievement.
Definitely, so expect to see great things from them in the future. As we once again see the 16-on-16 matchup. Garcia and Plain working the center of the field. Kervel puts his arms up, just gets in the way enough. Pressure from the Germans, causing an error from the Spanish.
Yeah, the throw from the 71 shirt of Fernando Abad Gonzalez, just off target. It's a really tough window to take in this wind, and they say discretion is the better part of valor, and he didn't show the necessary discretion there.
Yeah, great composure far sideline. Initially great switching from the Spanish side, but the Germans able to penetrate it, but an error from Andreas Goschlich even. Not his best work.
No, he's a player who can be so phenomenal when he's on form, but maybe the wind just put that disc not where he expected it to be. His hands not completely over one another, and it just slid through and span it to the ground.
Oh, that's a big disc. Plain has it all over. Taps it away, and nearly a hero bid from the two female Spanish players underneath, but does just enough.
And it's the same throwing error we've seen a couple of times, showing that front side of the disc, and it gets pushed up and trails back, and it doesn't give the receiver a chance to make it with the defender having that position.
So a bit of a bump on the mark there. I think there's going to be a foul called on the field.
Yeah, players try and work it out. English is the international language of Ultimate, so while that works well for us, not necessarily so easy for teams who are using it both as a second language, although usually they do a pretty good job of resolving it themselves. Completely self-refereed on the beach. No game advisors or observers to make calls or aid decisions. The volunteers will blow whistles to help them keep to time limits, but they're doing a good job there of just sorting it out between them. Although there has been another stoppage here as I say that.
Well, as you say, Benji, English being the international Frisbee language, or language of Ultimate, I should probably say better. It's, lots of these players know each other fairly well at this point, especially in the Masters and up divisions, because they've played together against each other, familiar faces all around, so fabulous communication really between the players, and such great knowledge of the rules and knowledge of the game more generally. So while those two discuss it, we're going to have a quick shout out. Before the game, we were asked by Christian Kervel to shout out some friends. Lisette, Selma and Loki, his mini fan base, watching at home as we see a great bid from the number 7 Gutierrez to get the disc back. Red zone opportunity here for the Spanish team.
Kervel tried to squeeze it through that small window, but the defender was wise to it.
It's like he knew we were giving a shout out. He just wanted to do something cool. Pick call upfield.
Yeah, whenever you see anyone who's suspiciously open like that, it's often the result of a pick happening when the defender can't catch up with the person they're marking. Someone else is in the way, be it a defending teammate or one of the other offensive players. So you get the chance to catch up, and on any stoppage, players can resolve their positioning slightly to make sure that picks don't occur after the restart. Yeah,
and you saw Johannes Schuck repositioning there. Nice loose mark, but can't stop the shot that finds the hands of the number 3, Patricia Cuenca. Much better there from Spain. Still not the clean offense they might have hoped for, but that does it effectively. They keep the game alive. 5-2 the score. The German side still up a solid 3 breaks, and they look a little bit more shaky in that point, Benji.
Yeah, the wind beginning to play havoc with both teams. The Spanish side, I feel, are much better when they're moving the disc quickly like that, and it's forcing the defenders to try and shift, to keep flipping their hips and shifting their momentum and their body weight, and it often leaves you beat pretty quickly.
And so the Spanish D-line hopefully have managed to keep warm. They've had quite the period off of the pitch. Disc coming and pulling out of bounds and landing in the laps of some of the fans in the stands. Great to see so many of the other teams out in force.
And on a day like this, I cannot think of anywhere else I would rather be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be even hotter tomorrow, so if you are joining us here on the sands in person in Portimao, please remember, stay hydrated. Hydration is not a joke, and make sure you apply plenty of sunscreen and bring a sun hat. So nice. Again, we see the swinging movement. Oh, though, Stettner puts up a big risky shot, and that was going to fall a little too far for Felix Glud.
Tried to advance down the sand as quickly as he could, but always too far out in front in the end, that one.
The Germans said they had two different lines. One that likes to just patiently play small ball, enjoy around the, move it around the back, and the other one likes to play more in flow, movement up the field. But that's a too excitable a pass, and that is a great recatch in the wind. A stall's going to be called, but I'm really glad we have that one to look back on in future. What a play from Reyes Sainz.
This is where you always have to make the catch at the stalls, because if she doesn't think, oh, I've seen it, it might go, and the turnover's definitely going to stand, but actually it is going to stand anyway. An uncontested stall out, good spirit from the Spanish. It's so easy to fight your corner and say that you didn't get it, than say that you did get it off in time, but nice seeing them come to an agreement quickly and fairly.
Well, great central pitch position for Immer. Finds Glud. Fakes the little lefty flick. Not really much work moving upfield from Germany right now, but there's a capitalization of a stumble on the mark and a pop from the number 25. That's Fabian Gerstenberg. Second stat for him, an assist to match his score. And his teammate, number 5, Vivian Stettner, gets on the board too.
As a force, you've got to do a very difficult job, because obviously you want to try and stop any throws going downfield, but you've got to have the presence of mind knowing that you can't overbid, because if you do and that throw doesn't end up going, then all you're doing is leaving a pretty wide open throw to that break side that you're trying to defend.
And we've seen it so many times, Benji. Forces overcommitting, losing their footing in the sand, which is so easy to do here. And then just all that hard work for naught. So Spain now needing to convert. Germans still up those 3 crucial breaks. They're in the lead, but that's a beautiful lead pass. Can she reread it? No, the wind just takes it away. How disappointing for the Spanish side.
That is really unfortunate there. It looked like it was going to be a perfect pass, and then just as it's going, the wind comes back up and pops it over her head, and she can't quite readjust in time. Brutal for the Spanish.
Yeah, such a shame. A great cut. Really had the good separation. Nice angle. Hats off to you, Otilia Garcia Bolaro. And that's a big ripping shot. The number 16, Lena Plain, goes up high, has Kervel in acres of space. Is she going to take an opportunity to put it to him? Yes. Stationary target in the end zone, flick to the chest. And what a way to take half. 7-2, the Germans lead.
Well, they are all over the Spanish in this contest. It's not the tight affair that we thought it might once be once the Spanish broke on that first point, and that throw seemed to hang up for an absolute age, but Plain did a very good job of staying with it, reading it well, and then something I would have liked seeing, I would have liked seeing that marking player drop off and take the runner into the end zone and mark Kervel. I know it's a gender mismatch, but on the force, you're trying to stop a throw to someone who's wide open, so it doesn't really matter what side it goes, because they can go anywhere without really much pressure. Whereas if you drop, at least you can say if the throw's a little bit off target, then you've got a chance of making a bid at it.
Yeah, and even just putting off the thrower for long enough to for your teammates to come play some help defense. You saw Gutierrez there in the back of the shot coming in to try and make the play and prevent the score for Christian Kervel, but you're totally right there, Benji. And also, you've got a height mismatch on the force as well, so you know that there's going to be a break opportunity.
Well, you mentioned as well having your teammates come in and help, and if you're taking that force and not the runner, then your teammate has to go further to make up that ground, as opposed to taking the closer option if you peel off.
And so a look of zone for the Germans. They said coming into this match they want to change their defense, try and keep the Spanish guessing. Seems to have been working so far. There was a risky pass, but well redeemed by San Jose Garcia. Good flow from the Spanish, though. Seem to be able to make so many passes, advancing up the field, and Biscuit over the top. That is flat as a pancake. Lovely shot, and in this win, my goodness.
That is exactly the start to the second half that the Spanish needed. Another break would have put the game beyond them, but now they're thinking, okay, we've got an 0 point on the board under this half. We can build from this. We've got a platform we can use.
And well, I think, to be honest, Benji, they're currently 4 breaks down to the Germans. So unless something quite spectacular happens here in this Masters mixed final, I feel like we're probably going to see maybe a trade. It'd be great to see the Spanish team come back, play a little bit more cleanly here, and maybe get the disc off the Germans.
And yeah, I don't disagree with you that this is still a very difficult task for the Spanish to come back here, but unless they put in unless they put in their 0 point, they can't start on defense and get any breaks.
You're totally right, Benji. We mentioned it last time they appeared on the field. It's been a little while since we've seen the D-line coming out, but it seems that they are pretty thirsty for it as the disc lands out of bounds. Whilst that's fielded, it'll be the German side have been bringing little temporary tattoos for their opponents after the games. I was very pleased to be offered one earlier, and I picked the one that's a symbol for the German Mixed Masters team, which is 2 X's, a plus, and an XY. Obviously standing for the male and female genders, and the plus standing for the fact that they're a little bit older than their senior counterparts. So Germany in play. Sylvester to Seevold. Over to Kervel, known as No Panda, because he had no costume at Paganello.
Disappointing.
High Dawn. Kervel points back at his fellow handler. This is clearly the line that likes to play more in flow. Oh, and that's a big shot from the hand of Christian Kervel, and that's going to fall to no one at all.
I don't know what he was thinking there. In this win, that's we'll call it an interesting throwing choice.
Yeah, it definitely landed probably a bit further away than he thought it would, but that held in the wind. What spin he had on it.
If you want to... Oops. Unfortunate little backpack there.
Talking about Kung Fu Panda, Benji. That was a move.
I mean, if you're going to go in for that level of contact, at least buy him dinner first.
Oh, that's a lovely little collision. Thankfully, no one picking up any injuries there, but you have to have a little giggle at that. Christian Kervel will have to set up back on the side he was before the collision was made. Good switching for the German side.
Certainly hasn't been Kervel's finest point.
No, and there's a knee catch there as the crowd celebrate from Javier Benito. Again, we see the Germans really pressing the Spanish into a very tight space. Not able to make much separation upfield and wary of making a deep shot. There is a call on the force. I think probably a fast count. No stoppage. Players will continue downfield. A nice swing to Ortega. Available shots up, line taken. Good swinging. A lot of red shirts clustered around the disc right now, and not really a cut to be found upfield, and a miscommunication finally happens. Just no one seemed ready to play offense there, Benji.
Yeah, the issue was the cutter came through and it meant the other handler thought that the disc wasn't going in his direction, so he just let it slide by him and hit the sand.
So Germany, another opportunity. Will we see a spicy hammer from Kervel once more? No, he's staying out far side.
I'll be honest, if I was him, I'd probably put that back in the toolbox for now.
Prisbia, that's a nice roll curve. Completely redeemed by Seevold.
How on earth did she get that one up?
I'm not entirely sure, but she's going to put up a risky shot of her own. Haidorn into Kervel. And we see a sneaky Seevold there, far right corner of the end zone, far side for your view.
Now, Is this a redemption chance for Kerbal? The hammer's on if he wants it.
I don't know, maybe. Outdoor beach knife, right? Exactly to where she is. Kerbal finds Seervold around. High Dorner up the line. Nice big arcing backhand. Shook, inside flick. Oh, and it tumbles out of her outstretched hands. Could not have asked more there from Sarah Hydorn.
Just couldn't get it quite around that back edge, and it just rolls off her fingertips and harmlessly hits the turf. And that time they were much more sensible with it, but just a little bit rushed. Could have held that inside forehand for a split second more before he went for the release, but it does give the Spanish the disc back and they can reduce the deficit. That throw's a little bit short, but it is scooped up off the turf by Lopez.
You have to remember, this is Germany's O-line right now. The Spanish D-line getting plenty of turns as this becomes somewhat of a scrappy point. We have Rios Higuera, center of the field, pops it near side. A good shot from Ortega. Has available options upfield, but again, we're looking to just swing it nice and patiently. This is good conservative offense from a D-line. This is nice to see a bit more energy here, Benji.
Yeah, I think this part of it is due to that large Spanish contingent in the crowd, hyping up their compatriots, but it's just going to slip through the hands of Requejo.
We heard from the chants in the stands, "Si se fuera." I believe the phrase is, yes, it's possible. And that's what the Spanish need to do. They have to believe that winning this game is still possible as the Germans advance down the field into the hands of Shook. Brisbane. What a mouthful that name is. Kerbal. He puts up a lofty shot. Oh my goodness, Christian Kerbal. What is that man thinking right now?
Just, again, the wind pushing it underneath it. Like we mentioned, this is probably won't want to watch this point back necessarily. Urquijo getting the D in the end there, and he says that he's not a traditional number 10 in most sports, and that he's not about the flair necessarily. He's just about getting in the end zone whatever it takes. Doesn't matter about well, he described it as no talent, no highlights, no show. But he's a player who's played on this is his 4th different division on the beach. He played open in Lignano back in 2011, mixed in Kayafel in 2013, was a men's master in Royan, and now he's playing as mixed masters as well.
And so we see finally a timeout call in this point, which is becoming quite elongated. We've had 24 passes from Spain's D-line for 2 turnovers. 3 turnovers for Germany off of 23 passes. So you have to say, Benji, the Germans currently looking a little bit overconfident, some might argue.
It's certainly an accusation that could be leveled at them. I think they're just struggling a little bit. They've lost their shape and they've lost their form as well. And I'm sure players, I hate to bring him back up again, but Kerbel's not had a good point, and he's a player who's done it. He's been on this stage, literally this stage before. Well, not literally this stage. Obviously, last time we ran out the European Beach Championships, it was in KFL rather than out here in Portugal. But he won the Mixed Masters division with Germany at that tournament. They are the reigning champions from 6 years ago, so he knows what it's like to be in this final and be on this stage and bring home that gold medal. And that's why he'll know that he needs to sharpen up a little bit here on the sand. Yeah,
maybe he needs to level out. We referenced the fact that he is no Paramda because he didn't bring a costume to Paganiello back in when this team was preparing. Perhaps he needs to level out a little bit less flair on the pitch, Christian, a little bit more flair at the party. And he'll get the opportunity to level it out later and get a D as we see the number 10 from Spain, Javier Benito, just plain stop in the middle of the pitch.
Kerbal making some amends there, getting the D. Maybe now he's put the hat on, things are going to have a change in fortune here.
Yeah, sun out of his eyes, a little less hot headers as we see Sylvester Prisbla remain cool and calm. Hydorn has worked so hard this point, manages to find Prisbla. Sneaky little bit of separation there. casual little spike to tip it off. That's a lovely play. I'm trying to think that smasher. Sevold finally reels this one in, ends the point. An offensive hold for the German side. They lead the charge. 8-3 up now in this Mixed Masters final.
She was so open. There was no one within pretty much the entirety of the end zone. I've no idea how she managed to find herself that free. Maybe the Spanish deep defender was guilty of looking at other options, looking too much at what was going on ahead and not aware of that player behind him. And it's sneaky Masha Sevold with the German goal. Their first of this second half. They lead 8-3, and that's the fourth time Germany have started an offense, and only once have they converted it perfectly. They've got a combined 5 turns between their 4 points, and that's much less efficiency than they would have hoped for coming into this game.
Yeah, not exactly the efficiency that stereotypically one associates with the Germans more generally, but Spain have certainly struggled more with their consistency, probably matching and then some for just unforced errors, but neither roll down on the disc. Up to Gutierrez, back to see the Spanish O-line once more. They've had a little rest. Can they punch it in? Yes, that is a tasty piece of offense. McFerrin finding his teammate Patricia Cuenca, and that keeps the game alive a wee bit longer. 8-4 now, as we see 5 minutes remaining of regulation time here on the sand in Portimao.
I don't think it's a coincidence that the Spanish O-line has 2 of their... let me start rephrasing that again. They've scored 4 points. One was a defensive break, and 2 of the opens that they scored were done without turnovers. And generally, when they've turned the disc, although they've got it back a couple of times, they haven't been able to punch it in. Generally, if they turn it over once, they're going to turn it over again if they can get it back. And it's so difficult as an O-line. Obviously, your focus is scoring the point, but you need to be able to play good enough defense to get the disc back afterwards.
And we've been talking actually about also earlier the way in which the German team is so flexible and versatile. They're really one of those things of the more you contact them in terms of, you know, playing against them on this field, they will just make those slight adjustments. They start to learn what you like, they start to learn what you don't like, and they just tighten those screws. So when they can convert perfectly, the Germans don't know what that particular line's game plan is, but when they then have to see it again and again, they start to figure out what they're trying to do, and they just have just such great awareness and intelligence to shut it down.
Spanish coming out in a zone look, trying to slow down the German handlers, force them into making some bad decisions. They've got their 3 women relatively flat up front, the 2 guys roaming in behind, one in a kind of middle of the pitch position, the other one's deep, and the Germans trying to find pockets, maybe trying to split that middle defender and force him to make a decision and leave someone else open.
Yeah, quite a difficult swing towards the strong side of the field. We've been enjoying a crosswind across this pitch most of the game.
Something I think the Germans are doing very well is they're having players move around the pitch. It's not necessarily the same 2 handlers all the time. Players are pushing through and coming back, and it means that the Spanish are forcing to make decisions, commit to defenders, and see players in place that they didn't necessarily expect to see them.
Yeah, I'd like to see the handlers go a little bit more, follow each other through this sort of cuppy / flat wall kind of affair that the Spanish are currently throwing. You see playing this near sideline a little bit further up the field. She's got her sunnies on. She looks like she's on holiday right now. She's happy to let her teammates just swing it, throw so many passes. With that 4-point lead, they don't need to, but they punch it through to Seawold and off to the races. Oh, that's a tasty layout snag from Sarah Heidorn. Nice movement over to Gothlick. Finds Plain Vedaplane, who I said looked like she was on her holidays. Cool, calm and casual. Seawold and Heidorn at the back. Seawold really patient. Nice fake to move the 2 sagging marks. Big around backhand, Goslich.
I thought the blade was open to Plain at the back of the end then, but Goslich is just going to be a bit more judicious, not going to put that in there just yet, going to take his time.
Well, the Spanish are really playing so loose right now. The Germans don't have to move much to just play a little game of keepy disky. Nice movement up the line. Plays for fakes. Back to Haidon.
Sorry, I was just about to say that lots of teams transition into going one-on-one this close to the end zone, but the Spanish sticking with this zone look.
But this is playing right into the hands of the Germans. And there we go, finally. Gets this movement spread across, crumbles that wall of 3. And that's a score to take us to 9-4. The time is nearly expired here in this Masters final. It's just looking a wee bit flat, Benji.
You talk about playing into the hands of the Germans, and that's where the disc ended up. Verena playing, just timing that nice into the middle beautifully. And as you mentioned, using the full width of the field there. When you've got that 3 up front, if you stay very narrow in the middle of the field, you make their job relatively easy. But if you spread out, you're leaving gaps in the middle where you can find those little shots through and playing. Look at that style with the sunglasses, a very strong look here on the beach. And Germany very much still in control of this final, not too dissimilar to their first meeting where they took an early lead and rode that out all the way. Just total control at the moment from Germany.
Yeah, having a chat to Oliver Brown before this this matchup, because he's played both these teams, the captain of the GB Mixed Masters, he was saying that you can't afford to poach off the Germans as we see them play tight coverage and get a turn once more on the Spanish side. So Rück has an option available in the end zone, but decides to go around the world with that pivot. Sustains heavy coverage and a bump on the mark, an uncontested foul, even called by Gonzalez.
And it's a little bit fortunate for Rück that he was able to manipulate the defender into making that contact, because the stool got very high there.
Yeah, again we see the Germans playing so conservatively. Close to defense now from the players in red. Pushing back the Germans well, and they're all just enough pressure. That's a fabulous bid.
Sensational stuff from Inigo Lopez Gonzalez. Just coming through, steaming across, full extension layout D from the number 33.
And so Spain really need this point to try and claw back some of that German lead. Nice movement from Gutierrez. There's Rondell available centre, but oh my goodness, what a shame. After giving up so much energy, Lopez Gonzalez just runs out of gas, stops his cut halfway down the field.
It's very unusual to see a side with the quality of the Spanish have this many miscommunications, and part of that I think is just due to the pressure of the German defense. It's forcing them to try and fit throws into tight windows, and they're often seeing different things, and when you're not all on the same page as a team, you're not working at the same collective objective as to how to beat a defense. It's so difficult to work your way through.
So Rück, far side of the field, finds Hoffman. Oh, look at, sorry, that's Gerstenberg even. Goodness. Trying to read the names rather than look down at my roster sheet. What a fool I am. Strub into Rück. Opens up that big backhand arm. 2 players chasing, both of them decide to bail out of it. Paul Badnick and Fabian Gerstenberg there, just looking down at the sand.
I think maybe they were waiting for the other one to make a bid and didn't want to. I've seen it a couple of times where 2 players on the same team both go for the same disc and end up clearing each other out, and that time no one was able to put a name on it. You did see though, Rück, he held that for a second because he knew the wind was going to push it up in the air, and if he went for it early, even though with that little updraft, it wasn't going to stay there long enough, so he held it. Maybe you could have held it for just maybe an extra second, and it would have given them a chance to completely get underneath it.
And so, oh, that's a lovely bid from Gutierrez, going up big for his team, hopefully get them fired up, and that's a huge put to match it. 4 bodies underneath, but Rück says no.
A maelstrom of receivers underneath it. It just swirled in the air, and it allowed that other German defender to get in on 2-on-2. When there's that many players underneath, it's always difficult to make a clean grab as an offensive player.
So a contested foul there.
At least that's what it potentially looks like being. Those were the hand signals made, but contested foul after Rück had made that catch, so the Germans will retain possession.
And so time has now expired in this match as you see the disc out of the hands into the sand for Anne Porbagnik. So the cap will go on. We will play to +1 from the highest score after this point is over. Roldan puts the disc up. A little bit of a hand slap there from the mark.
Rück immediately signals no contest.
Yeah, just starting to lose a little bit of composure, perhaps. The gentleman currently on the pitch. Good work from Hoffman covering Gutierrez, but able to just about find that lead pass channel. Gonzalez, short field, very close to this red zone offense for the Spanish. Need to punch it in, and they do! We will have a game to 10. Spain with it all to do. 5 points they will need to bring this one to universe. They trail 9-4.
Certainly a difficult task, 9-5 the current scoreline, and Germans with a chance to punch it in on offense on this near sideline. Sorry, mispronounced that one. Iman is here talking with one of her counterparts on the other team, just clarifying that we've got a game to 10. So I have seen on many occasions, even at stages as big as this, some confusion from teams about exactly when the cap goes on, and some teams, occasionally you think that you've won and actually there's still more time left in the game, but everyone's agreed now we're in a game to 10. You see there a big Spanish flag in the stands, made their way to their Iberian neighbours to come and support their team. The Spanish really well represented here. We've seen them in 3 consecutive finals here. They're in the Master Women's where they took gold, took silver in the Grand Masters, and now potentially going to take silver here if the Germans can punish them and put this point in as the pool sails out of the far side.
Well, we said at the end of the Women's Master Final that the gold rather suited the Mediterranean complexion of the Spanish versus the pure white Danish skin, but Germans look to be the favourites here. Call downfield, a foul call, so that it is a stoppage of play. This should go back to Kervel, I think.
And the discussion is just going to be whether the foul is contested or not, and then if, with the result of that, whether that affected that throw down the side. At the very least, it's going to go back 1 or 2 steps because all the players were rushing through while Heidorn engaged in conversation there with San Jose. They'd completely stopped and everyone had got the chance to catch up to them.
So I think maybe 1 pass might stand.
Yeah, that break throw down the far sideline to Seeveld, they're saying that it had no effect on that, but everyone will probably have to retake their previous positions.
So Germany with their first chance to snag the gold medal in this mixed master division. Kervel on the disc. Highborn back to Kervel. Johannes Schock has Kervel available directly behind him for an easy pop. It seems to lose him for a moment. Oh, and that's just enough. I think Christian Kervel is going to call a strip. The fans in the stands do not like that one at all.
I'm not sure that the Spanish defender is necessarily enamored with that idea either.
On the slow-mo replay, it's a very, very close call. The 2 players will have a chat.
Unfortunate injuries have plagued the career of the number 17 for Spain, Jose Antonio de los Rios Aguirre. For a couple of times he's had ACL surgeries on both knees, and he reckons this is probably going to be his last tournament with the Spanish team, so great for him to go out on a high with a final berth here.
Exactly, and as we said before, Benji, we have to point out it's really great to see the Spanish side in this final matchup, considering they didn't have any real kind of eyes on the prize when they began this tournament, but it's been a little bit of a mixed bag. They've taken some losses, but ground their way out to this gold medal final match. Shook, big backhand, and that is game! Germany take the gold medal for the mixed masters division in emphatic style.
And you have to say they've earned it, not just on the strength of this performance here, 5-10, a relatively comprehensive scoreline for a final, but they've been the best team all tournament, undefeated as they made their way through the tournament, and the closest they came was that comeback, but they fought their way back. Sorry, I said they went undefeated. They did take a loss to France in the upper pool, but when it mattered, when it was knockout play, when it was win or go home, they did what comes naturally to them, and they won, and they showed here why in this game they deserve to be the gold medal winners.
Well, we talked about the Germans being adaptable, learning how to shut down their opponents simply by practice. And my, oh my, what a scoreline, 10-5. The Germans have it, they take a medal, a gold one on the sands here, the golden fluffy sands in Portimao. That is all the action for us. We're going to kick off the medal ceremony here for the Mixed Master Division very shortly. We'll be back tomorrow morning from 11, bringing you all the action from the Master Men's, the Mixed, the Women's and the Men's Finals.
Watch those finals here on the WFDF YouTube page, on Facebook, and as well they're being carried on the World Games channel and on the Olympic channels as well. So there's so many ways to watch, there's no excuse for not tuning in.
And it's Saturday, so for those of us who work 9 to 5, no excuse for not tuning into those ones. Share, like, get your friends involved and share this high-level sport here. I've been Hannah Pendlebury for Benji Rees and all the rest of our Ulti.tv production crew. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock.